U.S. officials say a man who grew up in the Twin Cities died last weekend fighting alongside ISIS militants in Syria.
33-year-old Douglas MacArthur McCain lived in New Hope. He went to Robbinsdale Cooper High School in the late 90s, but never graduated. Nina Moyney joins us now, and Nina, McCain is the first American known to have been killed fighting for ISIS.
This group, ISIS, Jason, is known to be an incredibly brutal terrorist organization that actually used to be a part of al-Qaeda, but in fact was expelled from al-Qaeda, if you can imagine just how brutal of a group we're talking about here. U.S. government officials right now say that it's believed that more than 100 Americans are fighting abroad for this militant cause. McCain now believed to be the first, you're right, that has been discovered of that group. And the fear here is that when those people, if they're able to come back into the U.S., that they'll bring back with them the worst of intentions for our country. Now, about Douglas McCain, we're learning that on his social media accounts that he often praised ISIS. One of his last tweets in June read, "It takes a warrior to understand a warrior. Pray for ISIS." That's a quote there. Now, for a time, we also have learned McCain lived in this New Hope apartment complex with his family members right here near the Twin Cities, and that starting in 2000, he did have some minor run-ins with local law enforcement, including a minor marijuana possession. We heard from one man, he's a man from here in Minnesota, who used to play basketball as a kid with McCain, he said. His name's Isaac Chase. He says he just knows him as Doug. He said that when he told McCain in 2008 that he had actually joined the Air Force here and was serving in Iraq, that McCain had said that he was proud of him for doing something with his life and serving his country.
It just hurts a little bit knowing that if he was over there and I was over there at the same time, you know, we'd be going against each other. And that's what hurts the most, is because he was a good person. And I just don't understand why anyone would do anything towards to the U.S.
So as you hear there, it's very confusing. We've heard from a few family and friends of Mr. McCain who say that they had no idea that anything like this could have been going on in his life, and that they knew him growing up. They say that he was a Christian, his family was a Christian family, but that about 10 years ago, some of his family members have said that he converted to Islam, but that they didn't know that this was the type of person, allegedly, that they were dealing with here. So still very confusing for the people who knew him that we've been talking to.
Nina, the family says they didn't know, but McCain was certainly on the U.S. government's radar, right?
That is what we've learned. Some U.S. Top intelligence officials are saying that he was on an FBI watch list. Once the government had learned that he was able to enter Syria, he then went on to a watch list, we're told, Jason. Turkey and Syria do share a border. We've talked with some family members who've said that they knew that back in April, McCain had traveled to Turkey, but they didn't know if he had any intentions that were like this. So still, again, a very confusing situation, but those government officials say that if they had learned, like they did, that he traveled to Syria and then he had tried to come back to the U.S., that he would have faced lengthy questioning at that point.
Indeed. Thanks, Nina. ISIS is fighting to forge an Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. The U.S. military is launching airstrikes against the terror group in Iraq, but not Syria. But the U.S. has started surveillance missions over Syria, which is a major step towards launching airstrikes there as well. We'll be following the latest on this story all day. Keep it here on WCCO for all that we learn.
A ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas appears to be holding strong. The open-ended deal, announced Tuesday, was brokered by Egypt and came after 7 weeks of fighting that claimed more than 2,000 lives. Israel agreed to open crossings on its border to ease delivery of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Palestinians will be allowed to fish up to 6 nautical miles from the coast. Indirect talks on more complex issues could take place in Cairo about a month from now. American journalist Peter Curtis is back in the United States this morning, 2 days after his dramatic release by his captors in Syria. Militants believed to be allied with an al-Qaeda affiliate had held him for the past 22 months. This is a picture of Curtis being reunited with his mother yesterday in Newark, New Jersey. Last week, a different group killed American journalist James Foley in Syria.
2 sisters shot and killed in Wisconsin are being remembered for their devotion to their families.
They always made you smile and brought love and joy to the room.
Ashley Steele's husband is accused of shooting her and her sister, Casey Tollefspool, at the Steele's Fitchburg home on Friday. The sisters grew up in Stillwater. Andy Steele recently retired from the Dane County Sheriff's Office after being diagnosed with ALS. The sister's uncle says the family is shocked by what happened.
Andy was an absolutely amazing, loving husband. Never any indication of a problem.
Funeral for the sisters is scheduled for Friday in Stillwater, and funds to help their children have been set up. We have information on that at WCCO.com/links.
Some scary moments at the Hennepin County Medical Center after reports of shots being fired outside the emergency room. Luckily, no one was hurt in the shooting. The hospital briefly went on lockdown after more than 20 rounds were fired around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Police say it involved two groups of people outside the hospital, and the hospital was not the target. No arrests, though, have been made.
Charges have been filed against 4 people accused of a violent ambush robbery in Fridley. Yanni Singh and Anthony McCollum were both stabbed multiple times. Prosecutors say they were lured by 2 women, Tiffany Ivy and Leanne Todd, who they met at a Fridley bar early Saturday morning. Singh and McCollum gave the women a ride to a location where prosecutors say Marcus Foltz and Kevin Moore were waiting to attack and rob them. Foltz and Moore are both charged with attempted murder.
After years of controversy and court battles, thousands of in-home healthcare workers in Minnesota have voted to unionize. Union supporters hope it will mean higher wages and more stability in an industry with high turnover rates. But the union still faces an uphill battle. Republican candidate for Attorney General Scott Newman says there are serious legal questions about whether the new union members can be required to pay dues.